Lovely, lovely, lovely. So happy to be here. Part of that meditation was from this thing called You by Ernest Holmes, which I love so much. This little, this I like to get the old hardback versions of them off the interweb when I can. So let me read it again now. There is a pattern of perfection at the center of your being which has never been touched by disease or misfortune. Your intellect senses this through intuition. Your imagination feels it by divine right. Your inward consciousness knows it through faith. What you are trying to do is awaken your whole being to spiritual awareness. And that is, in essence, a lot of what I want to talk about today is spiritual awareness. And I'm really looking at this as going from new thought to take no thought. So it's been a very amazing, powerful week. I ended up at the very last minute going to Palm Springs on Friday. I decided during lunch, I just felt that divine nudge to go to Palm Springs and hurry up because it's going to be basically my last chance because the air conditioning in my car doesn't really work. And I had been thinking, oh, maybe I would go around my birthday in July. I was like, it was too fucking, you can't go, you will die. So I just called and when I got back from lunch and made a reservation, and off I went for a couple of days of really retreat and respite and healing, and it was that much guidance came through. And I got the Grace upgrade. They just decided when I got there to upgrade me to a suite in the resort, and that was great. And I had just the most wonderful, I was going to stay for 3 days, and I ended up just staying for 2. 48 hours was all I really needed to give me the boost that I need. There was so much love. Oh my God, I went to my favorite restaurants that I went to so much there, and the love, I was greeted with such love. It was just very moving and fed my soul, filled up my love tank in wonderful ways. So that was definitely a divine urge, and I'm following those divine urges. I am going where the love is. That's my thing. And yes, it's nice to do this on a Wednesday again, but the reason I stopped doing these Wednesdays was because no one said anything. No one was commenting on the videos that had very low views. Nobody was doing thumbs up for them. And I'm not doing things that people are not appreciating. So we are only doing this because I canceled Sunday, but if I don't get your feedback, I'm not doing shit anymore. I'm just not. I'm just not. I'm going where the love and appreciation is expressed, not silent thanks that people keep inside and don't say. So that's why we stopped doing it, because it just felt like a waste of my time and energy for something people didn't care about. So I'm just doing the things that I know people care about because they tell me more than once a quarter, more than once a month, that every time they say, oh, here I am. This is what I loved about what you said. This is what I got out of this. That's what I'm doing now. So I've been in such a deep dive. I've talked about this for the last decade, really, and amped it up recently. And that was really the video that I posted the other day on the public YouTube channel, was really about that. That I realized I've been looking at so much, and I realized that so much of, and there is a real distinct difference between new thought and new age. And the new age has crept into new thought and muddied the waters in so many ways to make things really a gigantic mess, so that a lot of people have lost their fucking minds, truly. And that's why I've really come back to, and I've talked about this so much, to the simplicity of Dr. Holmes. And so that video that I posted on the public YouTube channel, which was like a line in the sand to make things clear for people, is what then moves us into just returning to the simplicity of it all. And the reason I talk about this particular version of the Science Mind, which was the original one, both of the versions are good, is that he spends a lot more time in this talking about the psychic realm. And I mean, a lot of time talking about, that's why I said this book has everything in it. It has everything in it. in it. You could read 100 books, or you could just read this one book. And talking about that New Age psychic realm of, yes, it's real. It's there. There's stuff going on, and it doesn't mean jack shit. It's really meaningless distractions, right? The Ouija board, the channeling, the, hypnosis regressions, the mediums, the horoscopes, all of those things. Yes, that's all going on. That's all there. Meaningless, meaningless, meaningless. And so, what it brought me back to was, Oprah was sort of famous when she was doing her show, and I think maybe she might have even done it in the magazine back in the day, of what's the one thing you know for sure? And so I'm really devoted now, the rest of my life, to just talking about what I know for sure. And that's just a few things. I've always say, I don't know that much, I know a couple of things, but those couple of things rule the entire cosmos, all of reality on every dimension at every layer. And the main thing, and this is really what I talked about also in that video that I posted, is that there is only the one. Just the one. There's only the one. Not two. There's only the one. This is why Joel Goldsmith goes up, there is not two powers, there's only one power. There's nothing to fight. This is the introduction to the course, right? Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. As we come back over and over and over again to this essential truth, the only thing that I really know for sure is true is that there's just the one. And we work way too hard rather than letting things be simple, because simplicity is very difficult for twisted minds. So I want to talk about, read really, from the Science of Mind text, what Ernest Holmes says about that. I'm going to read a lot of this because I think it's very, very simple, very powerful. And also you would have this talk, if you download the MP3, you would have it for as long as you want, to come back over and over and over again to when you've let it get complicated, when you think there's extenuating circumstances, when you've got lost in a bunch of theories and a bunch of strategies and a bunch of blah, 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 to come back to the simplicity. And really, this is just a couple of pages that are so amazing. Thank you, John. Just amazing how in a few pages of this text, it gets right to everything you would probably ever really need to know. And for myself personally, moving more away from the metaphysical, far more into the mystical. Because again, the mystic, it has direct contact with God. And that's what that whole video really was emphasizing, was you have direct contact with Source. At all times, at any time, you have absolute direct contact with Source. So here's where he talks, this is on page 219, true mysticism and the psychic sense. There is a vast difference between mysticism and psychicism, between a mystic and an ordinary psychic. The psychic capacity, now I want you to know in another place he talks about how we all have psychic powers, if you want to call them that, but they're absolutely irrelevant and meaningless when we're consciously trying to use them, but that their meaning comes from if they are used in that mystical sense, in that God sense, as this also goes back to that 50 meanings of miracles in the Course in Miracles that says consciously directed miracles can be misguided. That when we're consciously consulting the pendulum, the oracle, our horoscope, a psychic, a medium, whatever it is, our runes, our tarot cards, all of this stuff, when you're consciously doing that, that has a tendency to be misdirected and to stay just on the human ego level. So it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not sinful, but it's easy for you to get fooled and to fool yourself and to waste a lot of time and money as well. The psychic capacity will be thoroughly discussed in Lesson 6, and the reader will remember that it is the power to read subjectively. It may be dealing with reality or with an illusion. The average psychic must become more or less subjective in order to do good work. At best, and even though in a normal state of mind he can only read subjective pictures and tendencies, at best he is generally dealing with human thought. Should he penetrate that thought, he would then become a mystic. A mystic does not read human thought, but senses the thought of God. The question might be asked, how do you know that he senses the thought of God? Because the mystics have seen, sensed, and taught the same truth. Psychic experiences more or less contradict each other because each psychic sees a different kind of mental picture, but the mystic experiences of the ages have revealed the one and same truth. So I saw this as I did so much study over these last years of these people who do, people like Dolores Cannon, and there's so many who do hypnotism and regressive, and they talk about the aliens and what happens in between lives and and it's all different and it all contradicts each other, and it's all about hierarchies of, it's all bullshit basically. It's all because everybody, you could regress to a past life and it can be a complete fantasy. There's no way to know whether it's true or whether it happened or not. It's really, here's the thing that it came to me this week was that scripture that says, when I was a child, I acted as a child, I spake as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. All of that is childishness. And that's why the world of New Age is obsessed with that. And so much of, like, YouTube is full of all that stuff, is because it's an immature spirituality. And most of us go through that phase, but it should be a very short phase. Nothing real is happening there, and it's full of all kinds of things that are just illusions and nonsense, which is why it all contradicts with each other. What we want is the one truth. This is what the mystics talk. So they all said the same thing. The psychic realm all says different things. The mystics all said one basic thing. What the mystics have taught. Without exception, all the mystics have taught that there is but one ultimate reality, and that this ultimate reality is here and now if we could but see it. Strange as it may seem, the great mystics have all believed in a personal God, that is, a God who is personal to all who believe in God. They have not, of course, believed in an anthropomorphic God, but they have believed in a God who consciously works in and through people, and they have adored and worshipped this God. The great mystics have been illumined, that is, they have at times seen through the veil of matter and perceived the spiritual universe. They have taught that the kingdom of God is now present and needs to be realized, and they have apparently sensed that this kingdom is within. A psychic sees only through his own subjective mentality. Consequently, everything that he looks at is more or less colored by the vibration of his or her own thought. He or she is subject to hallucinations and false impressions of every description. This is why, generally speaking, no two psychics ever see the same thing. Mystics have all seen the same thing, and their testimony is in no way confusing. This is because the spirit within them has borne witness to the truth. There is no ultimate evil. One of the great illuminating things that mysticism has revealed is that evil is not an ultimate reality. Evil is simply an experience of the soul on its journey toward reality. It is not an entity, but an experience necessary to self-unfoldment. It is not a thing of itself, but simply a misuse of power. So to say that it's necessary is something that Abraham says all the time, something that the Course says. That's the contrast. It's the necessary contrast of when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, right? You see this as unwanted and this as wanted. So it doesn't mean evil, that's just fear, that's just whatever. That contrast is necessary while you're in the physical so that you know how to choose, because it's all about choosing. Choose this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's an experience. It's not a thing of itself. It's just a misuse of power. It will disappear when we stop looking at it or believing in it. We cannot stop believing in it as long as we indulge in it. So the mystic has always taught the race to turn from evil and do good. That's repent, means turn around, turn away. Ultimate salvation of all. The mystics have taught the ultimate salvation of all people and the immortality of every soul. Indeed, they have taught that immortality is here and now if we would but wake to the fact. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. Since each soul is some part of the whole, it is impossible that any soul can be lost. In other words, there's no hell, there's no purgatory, there's no forced reincarnation. You have to keep coming back to pay for your past karma or to learn what you didn't learn the last time. God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. Damnation has been as foreign to the thought of the mystic as any belief in evil must be to the mind of God. Freedom from burden. The great mystics have taught that man should have no burdens and would have none if he turned to the One. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. As Jesus must have known that it would be impossible for all men to come into him as a personality, he must have meant that we should come into his understanding of life and reality. That is, to come unto the great God. Someday we will learn to lay our burdens on the altar of love, that they may be consumed by the fire of faith in the living Spirit. Man would have no burdens if he kept his high watch toward the One. That is, if he always turned to God. And we certainly know about the high watch. The healing table here is hot this week. I've had requests, lots of requests. It's the first thing I do every morning when I walk in here. I hit the gong, I light the incense, I spray the spray. I say, God, you have some customers. Thy will be done. I do my prayer work, and that's the high watch, is knowing God is in charge and all is well. Unity of all. Jesus prayed that all might come to see the unity of life, that they may be one even as we are one, was his prayer as he neared the completion of his great work on this planet. All mystics have sensed that we live in one life, for in him we live and move and have our being. The unity of good is a revelation of the greatest importance, for it teaches us that we are one with the whole and one with each other. This realization alone will settle the question of human inequality. The real fatherhood of God and the actual brotherhood of man will be made apparent on earth to the degree that men realize true unity. Realization of individuality. No great mystic ever lived who denied the reality of individuality. The higher the sense of truth, the greater will be the realization of the uniqueness of individual character and personality. The real self is God-given and cannot be denied. It is the place where God comes to a point of individualized and personified expression and should be thought of in this light. I am the light of the world. Normalcy. All mystics have been normal people. That is, that they have lived just as others have lived. The only difference has been that they have sensed a greater reality, namely the presence of the living Spirit. All right, so we will lay that as the foundation, not just of this, but everything going forward. I am basically in my intending is for the next 4 months. So June, July, August, September. This is going to be the most fabulous summer of our lives, should you choose it. I've already chosen it. So that's it for me, is this unfolding from this awareness of the one, the simplicity of the one. So to go from, I want to read from the introduction. This is the introduction that Ernest Holmes wrote as an update to Creative Mind and Success. So Creative Mind and Success is one of the first books that Ernest Holmes wrote, this in 1919. Then in like 1950 or something, he wrote a new introduction to it. What he had learned in, all of those years from being someone who was new and writing this little book on principle, and then, okay, now I've had, 20 some years of practicing this and working with people with this, and here's what I've come to now. So he says, for example, we no longer hold thoughts. We think positive thoughts and then release them charged with the spiritual energy of faith into the universal mind, which is common to all. So I really should call this talk One Mind Common to All, because that's what I want us to be focused on more and more, is the universal mind, one mind common to all. This means, and really what was the opening meditation was about, was moving into the one mind where we are, the reason that I'm saying that I'm only teaching the things I know is, and I've talked about this, I don't know how much people pay attention to what I'm saying, but I talked about this quite a bit over the last few months, of how much I've reflected on the hand of God in my life throughout my life. This is the thing that is the common thread that goes through everything that's happened in my life, is it's made it crystal clear that there is one universal mind. And that everything that we think of in terms of the law of attraction, the law of assumption, the way that things are demonstrated, is coming from the one mind, where we are in contact with everyone who is living now, everyone who ever has lived. Abraham will put it very simply. I love the simplicity. It says, every thought that's ever been thought still exists. Every thought that's ever been thought still exists. Everything that ever existed or ever will exist is within that field. So we can call it the one mind. Some people like to call it the field. And God is the field. So we can say that God is the one mind, God is the universal mind, or God is the field. It's that place where everything that ever existed still exists, where every possibility is, where we are all one, where we are communicating through the ethers, through the unseen, and contacting whatever it is that we're focused on. So we're contacting the possibility of complete illusions and hallucinations like monsters and demons and fear and attack and evil. We're able to bring that into our experience even though it's not real. Or we can contact ultimate truth. We can contact ultimate love and well-being and joy and the peace that passes all understanding. And this is the state of effortless accomplishment, because we give up the manipulation, we give up trying to manifest or trying to make anything happen. This is what Ernest Holmes is talking about, where we're no longer holding thoughts. Well, hold a thought. Hold a good thought for me. When we're holding the high watch, we're not really holding anything. We're releasing. We're naming the spiritual truth, then we release it. We let it go. So this is what he's saying. You simply go to whatever is the spiritual truth. That's the thought. And then it is electrified and you release it to the universal mind, to the universal source, to God, to whatever you want to call it. You release it. So you're not continually repeating it over and over and over and over and over, and over. The effort of thinking, the thought, thinking, the thought, thinking, the thought. We're releasing it. That's why we say we're going from, positive thought to take no thought. So let's read about that. Here we go there's two places that I want to read from this in Joel Goldsmith, Conscious Union with God. He talks also about this, not holding thought. Okay, holding thoughts is not spiritual healing. Jesus taught, take no thought for your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, not yet for your body, or what you will put on. Yet how many of our mental practitioners today are ready and willing to attempt to make a demonstration of supply or of a house or an automobile? Right? Trying to make something demonstrate in the physical realm. So then we go to take no thought. The approach of the infinite way is very radical also. In the following of the teaching of the Master, take no thought for your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor yet for your body, what you will put on. So this is big. This is big. Now, this speaks directly to me in a way that I cannot even begin to tell you. Because I can't tell you how much I think about what am I going to eat, what am I going to drink, what am I going to wear? What am I going to eat, what am I going to drink, what am I going to wear? What am I going to eat, what am I going to drink, what am I going to wear? What am I going to eat, what am I going to drink, what am I going to wear? Think about this. And here's Joel saying, take no thought. Take no thought about what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink or what you're going to wear. Now, what Joel says is, again, it's not bad, it's not a sin, it's not wrong. He's saying, take no anxious thought of where it's anything other than just, this is what I'm going to wear, and this is what... That we put so much energy into something that is ultimately meaningless. I mean, it's not about that you shouldn't enjoy fashion, or you shouldn't enjoy your food, or you shouldn't enjoy your whatever, your water, or whatever you're drinking. It's this obsessively thinking about it. One of the things, I didn't talk about this on the video that I posted, but I thought about it, but I didn't even bother going into it because I don't know if my people are interested in this all that much. I put this out there, as I said, it's like a breadcrumb for maybe future generations. But I see all these things where, okay, so one of the reasons that I had posted that particular video and what kind of inspired me to do it was there's a guy who has a very huge YouTube following who started teaching from A Course in Miracles, and he still does, but he's branched out into this other thing, the Law of One. And he has a big following, and he seems like a nice guy, and most of what he's saying is horseshit. The Law of One is horseshit. It's all about hierarchy again, of like, there's all these 7 levels, and there's different density that you go to, and there's not a word of spiritual truth in any of that. That's all the psychic level of nonsense, meaninglessness. It's like the Mormons having a top heaven. It's like the country club heavens. Only the best people get in those higher levels. I've let go. I said in that video, the things I would have said a year ago, I wouldn't say now. So much of that Carolyn Myss stuff I studied was bullshit about, if you're in the penthouse consciousness, you can't talk to people in the bank. This is all separation and nonsense. It's all separation and nonsense. We're not at higher and lower levels. We're all within the one. We're either in the nightmare or we're in the happy dream. That's all. And it's not like once you're in the happy dream, you stay there. We're in and out all the time. We're in and out all the fucking time until we learn to stabilize more. And then we spend more and more time in awareness of the one. Just awareness of the one, not being distracted by the social media doom scrolling and the what's happening here and there. So one of the things that people in these states, and then I'll see all these people who are, into the extraterrestrials, and that's really how God is talking to us, and they're from different dimensions, and blah, blah, blah. And then I will hear all this stuff about, but you have to be, you have to give up caffeine, and you have to give up alcohol, and you have to give up this, and you have to give up that, and you have to give up the other thing. Then I always think of Neville's teacher saying, you've given up everything, you're so good, you're good for nothing. And what people don't realize is so many of these, like, this whole New Age thing was started really by Seth. And Seth is probably the clearest channel of that whole New Age. And I'm not against the New Age. I'm just saying it's immature, okay? It really is immature. And a lot of stuff there is just an illusion and a hallucination. But Jane Roberts was probably the clearest channel. And while she was channeling Seth, she would smoke and drink. It says right there in the books, it will say, then Jane took a sip of her wine or her beer, or she was smoking a cigarette while she's channeling Seth, okay? And so many of the great psychics, that's why a long time ago I uploaded that talk of Sylvia Browne's, where she was talking about the really well-known psychics, she said, who channeled, said one of the channels was, he was a very famous, he said his guide would come in and channel like Esther does, would speak through him and would talk about how much, it'd be like if, because I don't remember the guy's name, so we'll just transfer it on to Esther and Abraham. Just that it'd be like Abraham coming through and talking about how much Esther drinks, right? It would be like, it's all this purity. Jesus told us this thousands of years ago, said, there's no such thing as pure and impure eating and drinking. Yes, if you're an alcoholic, don't drink, okay? Because you have an addiction. But otherwise, giving up all of these things doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't have anything to do with your being able to let oneness come through, except what is individualized for you. So if you find it's easier if you don't eat meat, then don't eat meat. If you think it's easier for you, if you don't do this or don't do that, then don't do that. But it's this externalized rules of, well, they're not going to make it because they're not vegan. That was one of the things that also, this other video that I watched was, so this guy was going to have on somebody who also teaches, and he has a team that went to this guy's place to see if it would be I know this sounds so confusing. In any case, the guy who teaches from the Course and the Law of One decided not to have this guy on as a guest because he wouldn't agree that Jesus had been in a scene or that Jesus was vegetarian. And so it was like, well, you're not one of us. You can't come on. If you're not willing to say on my show that you know that Jesus was in a scene and a vegetarian, then you can't come on to my show. I want you to just see how much bullshit is out there that people just accept. And that these people have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of listeners who are just leading them in circles. Which is why there is such confusion. And that confusion and chaos are of the ego. The path is simple. It is so simple to keep returning to the one. That's why I posted all those memes as study aids on the private blog of where Ernest Holmes says, just return to the one. Just keep returning to the one, which is another way of returning to God, returning to the field of infinite consciousness, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The words are meaningless. Okay, the label is just fucking semantics and meaningless. So just use the one that resonates with you. So he says, take no thought for all of these things. Where am I going to live? What am I going to means take no anxious thought. Just make the decision and then line up with it and make it okay. You must understand that this teaching is not meant to give you a method by which to demonstrate better or longer humanhood, nor is it a teaching of how to use your mind to get things or to do things for you, or to give you some power called God to bring you human things or human betterment. This is a teaching meant to take you out of humanhood into the awareness of your spiritual identity. This is a way of life which teaches you how to be in the world, but not of it. It is a way of life which teaches that from the beginning of time, since before Abraham was, I am, and that I will be right here until the end of the world. Therefore, the purpose of this teaching is to build a state of consciousness in which you don't take thought for person, place, or things in this world, and yet find yourself moving in and among and with and through person, places, and things, in green pastures beside the still waters. Conscious thinking does not do this. Treatment does not do this. The law of God which you are in your innermost being is what does it, and your only part is to be grateful for all the loving, kind, and generous people with whom you come in contact, for all the beauty you're permitted to see, and for all the joyous experiences that come to you. And really, that was the delight for me of this little getaway to Palm Springs. Was I had not planned it, I had not schemed it, I had not strategized it. It just came as a guidance in the moment. Go to Palm Springs, go now. I came home from the restaurant, I got online, I booked the place, I drove there. It unfolded. I saw love in people's faces that I didn't know existed, and that was what my spirit was calling for. There was one particular restaurant I went to where I don't even know if I've ever seen anyone look with such love. And I just felt like, that's right. That's right. It's so effortless. All of this taking conscious, I'm going to affirm this, I'm going to visualize them. There's nothing wrong with those things. But again, it's so much effort when I can just live by grace. When I can just live by the simplicity of grace of, okay, thy will be done, and make use of me today, and over and out. Here I am. Make joyful use of me. I went through and I took out most of the things that I had put in this prayer book of mine over the last month or so, took most of them out and got rid of them, and returned back to invocations and pulled out just those, oh yeah, God is with me now and has a plan for my life. I believe in the power of God. I believe in miracles. I believe in the radical action of God's love here on earth. God uses my hands, my feet, and my voice this day to do his will. That it's just bringing me into alignment. It's not trying to manifest something. It's just bringing me back into awareness of what has always been the truth, and then releasing it and loosing it. Those affirmations and invocations of just alignment for myself of, I open myself to this new day. I don't know what's going to happen, so I allow divine spirit to unfold all things perfectly. Divine activity fills my day and runs my life. I'm a grateful child of God today. Today I remember to praise and acknowledge the people in my life. The good that I seek is seeking me. I'm an instrument of divine love and healing. This is an abundant universe, and I'm open to receive my good. That I just, thank you, Colleen. I'm so glad. I needed it too. That it's just to realign me with God. It's not me trying to do something to the law to make it do something for me. It's me moving into alignment with the spiritual truth and just releasing it. Just fucking release it. And to let go, just the simplicity of those course lessons of like, I place the future in the hands of God. I give my life to God to guide today, right? I'm going from new thought to take no anxious thought. So the one main truth, again, is that there's just the one. That there's 1,000,001 side paths, and there's nothing wrong with them, and they're just going to make it take you a lot longer to get where you're going, or there is the direct path. Just go directly to God. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go directly to God. You don't need pendulums and cards and psychics and horoscopes and special diets and special this and special that. You can just go directly to God at any single moment that you choose to. The other thing, the other truth that I know to be true is that everything is energy. It looks like a solid world. It looks like this. It looks like that. But everything is just energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's what the one is. The one is a frequency, an energy, a vibration, a consciousness, and awareness. It is not a dude in the sky, in a body, judging, making up rules, making up, I don't know if reincarnation is real. The thing I love about the Course is it says it won't tell you. It says, if it's a helpful concept for you, there's no harm in believing it. If it's not, there's no harm in letting it go. But what I do know is this, for myself, is that if there is reincarnation, it is completely chosen and voluntary. It has nothing to do with you have to come back, you have to get a lesson before you can move on, you have to make up with this or that person. Again, I talked about just find the things that there's no such thing as a holy book. You can pluck out what's true for you and pluck out what's bullshit and throw it away. One of the things that I love that Dolores Cannon said, and I've listened to and read a lot of Dolores Cannon, and a lot of it is bullshit. But some of the things she said, I'd be like, I'll take that. So one of the things that she says, because people talk, oh, you have contracts with people. Like, it's bullshit that there are soul groups and you got to try and find your soul group, because that's another way of saying special. No, there's special soul people that I'm going to find and that's my special soul group. Ego fucking specialness. It's not about, thank you, John. It's another way to take you out of oneness and say, oh, there's special people, they're special, you're going to resonate with those special people, and that's why you can't get along with other people. Or you have soul contracts with people, and you have to fulfill your soul contract. One of the things that Dolores Cannon said that I love is she said, if you've done a couple lifetimes with somebody, just rip up the contract. Just say, hey, we tried it. We're not getting anywhere. We're just going to tear up the fucking contract. So when she said that, I destroyed every so-called soul contract that I thought I had with anyone. I just mentally put them all in the paper shredder and said, we are all fucking free now. I got no contracts with no fucking buddy. We are all free. Because that's just another way to take fucking hostages, okay? And I don't want no fucking hostages, okay? Anybody that's in my life, I assume that they are some kind of a vibrational match to me in this particular moment. Not based on something from the past or something that, in this moment, and if I shift my vibration, I will shift who or what is showing up, because everything is energy. Jesus, and again, I also believe that the Bible is just made up stories for the most part. I don't know if there was a Jesus or not, and neither do you or anybody else. Nobody knows who except who's there, okay? But there are some things that he said that I liked. But also nowhere in the gospel is Jesus talking about, you have lessons to learn, and that's what you're here for, is for your soul to progress and learn lessons and blah, blah, blah. And anytime people tried to trap him into that, he would say, in his own way, bullshit, right? I told that story in that video of like when the apostles were like, oh, this blind man, who sinned, him or his parents? Well, metaphysicians would just say, who had the wrong thought? Was it something his mother said while he was in utero? Or is it something that he did? And Jesus was like, that's all bullshit. Where'd you get this crap about learning lessons and shit? There's no such thing, okay? You're either just choosing the light or choosing the dark. That's it. You're either knowing the one or you've moved into multiplicity and nonsense. There is one power, one presence, one light, nothing to fight against, nothing to get rid of. This is why I say Ernest Holmes was a fucking genius a century ago. He looked into all that stuff for us, dug through all he did all that. He went to psychics, table tapping, because that was, big at that time, tables that float around and all that stuff, and these apparitions that would appear and da-da-da. He went through all of that and said, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Keep moving. Nothing to see here. Didn't say it was phony or fake. Just said irrelevant. Nothing to see here. It just reads human thought. It's just lateral moving. It's lateral moving around. It's not in any way taking you into a higher consciousness or into a deeper truth. It's just, and a lot of it is illusion. A lot of it is illusion because it's the projection of the people involved. So again, you don't have to believe a single word that I said because you have direct access to infinite wisdom. You have direct access to the field of possibilities, to God. We come together like this just to remind each other of the truth because there's not much of it out there. It's been clouded over in a very crowded field of a lot of nonsense. But God bless them, you know? It's not one of the things that we read here in this Ernest Holmes thing was, it's not now or never, it's sooner or later, right? Everyone's going to the one because there's nowhere else to go. There's no hell, there's no purgatory, there's no endless cycle of reincarnation that you're trapped in until you get something. What a dumb thing that would be anyhow. That would mean that God is dumb. To say, oh, we're going to just drop you on earth, and it'd be like saying, you're going to college. Oh, what college? I'm not going to tell you. Well, what will I be taking? I'm not going to tell you. What are you majoring in? I'm not going to tell you. It'd be like sitting in a class and saying, I'm not going to tell you what this class is. I'm not going to tell you what the topic is. I'm not going to tell you what the subject is. You just have to figure it out. Like you're just dropped here and you just have to figure out that you have lessons and you don't know what it is and you're not going to, oh yeah, you'll have spiritual guides, but you won't know you have spirit guides. This is all bullshit and nonsense. Jesus didn't talk about any of that horseshit because it's just stupid. Okay? It doesn't make any sense and it's ridiculous. We're here, I agree with Abraham. We're here because we decided to come here because at some level we thought it'd be fun to play this part. And I was watching actually something not that long ago, Raymond Moody, who talks about how he firmly believes in reincarnation, but what he says is you get tricked into coming back by yourself because you want to just try one more thing. And he says, if you want to stop coming back, stop being interested in one more thing. Terry Cole Whitaker said this 40 years ago when she said, if when you die, you just think, oh, I wish I had one more taco, you're coming back. You know? Now, you can decide when you get to the other side, I'm okay with no tacos, okay? I'm fine without having another lifetime with Cynthia, or I'm fine without going to Paris, or I'm fine not needing to feel what it would be like to live in da-da-da. I'm tired of acting on this stage. I'm done acting. Now I just want truth and happiness and joy. Then you stop coming here because you're not interested anymore. That's why the Course has that lesson of like, the world I see holds nothing that I want. But beyond this world, there is a world I want. You have to get to that point where you go, okay, now the world I see holds nothing that I want. And beyond this world, there is a world I want. And so the Course talks about, says, the real world is nothing like this world in that there is not a light that goes out and then there's hours in darkness and there are not buildings which stand for a while and then disappear. And then it's not a place of impermanence. It's a place of infinite good. And everyone goes there eventually, but it's just, do you want to go, do you want to wait another 1,000 years or whatever, wasting your time in, well, let me investigate this or that or the other thing. It's, let me just have fun while I'm here. I'm just going to enjoy myself while I'm here. I'm going to focus on the things that bring me joy while I'm here. And then if I want to come back, I can. But if I don't want to come back, there is no loop of until you get this lesson, you're gonna have to, That's why I said the Course is not a holy book. It's not infallible. There are things in there that I believe are simply not true, but were things that Helen had in her consciousness that she put in there. You know, you are the authority in your life. You have direct, immediate access to Source. All right, that's it. We're going to do a little prayer, and away we go, off to have whatever kind of day you choose to have. So we close our eyes, take a deep breath. Resting in the oneness, the peace and the joy that passes all understanding, that is instantly available when we make that connection. The connection that actually is already always present. We just get distracted. So we bring our awareness back to it now, knowing that right here, right now, God is, and all is well. And so we offer ourselves to be guided and directed to our own happiness, our own peace, our own joy, our own well-being. For this we are so thankful. So be it. So it is. Amen. I love you, I love you, I love you. Have a fabulous rest of your day.